Okay, I think we'll get started. I wanted to welcome and thank everyone for joining us today. I'm Leslie Solomon. I'm a co-founder and board member of the Food Allergies Science Initiative. At FASI, our focus is to understand, translate, and intervene with food allergies. And we have established a unique collaborative network of leading scientists focused on bringing us one step closer to a cure. In a short period of time, FASI has changed the landscape for food allergy research, and we are really excited about the road ahead. Thank you all for joining us on our journey to a cure. Over the last 8 months, you've been given a window into FASI's journey to create a world without food allergies. Hearing from several FASI investigators about their groundbreaking foundational discoveries and translational research to identify biomarkers for therapeutic interventions. And now we'll hear from FASI CEO, Carlos Vasquez, to discuss FASI's Drug Discovery Accelerator, unveiling FASI's effort to catalyze a cure for food allergies. Two things to do before we start. One is I want to remind our audience that we'll take questions from the Q&A box at the end. And most importantly, I wanted to introduce Carlos Vasquez, our CEO at FASI. And Carlos, with that, I'll turn it over to you to say a quick hello. But first, I wanted to just quickly give you some background on Carlos. He has dedicated more than 18 years to the development of biomedical technology platforms and novel therapeutics. He's co-authored more than 70 publications and patents, and he's led research organizations in medical devices and consumer goods. We are so thrilled to have Carlos as CEO of FASI. We're so lucky. I would love, Carlos, if you don't mind, if you can tell us more about how you got involved with FASI and specifically what interested you in food allergies.
Thank you, Leslie, for that introduction, and really an honor to have the opportunity to be here discussing with you today in our last seminar of the series. I'm going to apologize in advance to our audience. There may be some coughing involved in between today, as I'm a little bit under the weather, so my apologies in advance. But so Leslie, over the last 18 years. I've been, my passion has been to impact patients, especially where there's a big unmet need, and therefore why I have spent the last close to the last 2 decades in the pharma and biotech industry, developing technologies and developing therapy, especially in the area of autoimmune and inflammatory diseases, as it's a big passion for me. And when it comes to food allergies, it's really personal. I actually developed a food allergy as an adult. It is, it's almost a dichotomy and a little funny for me because typically you don't find scientists that cannot drink coffee. And I'm one of those because I developed an allergy against a component of coffee that is not caffeine. So as a scientist, I've been puzzled by it, how an adult develops a food allergy all of a sudden. And really just seeing how the field has been lagging behind over the last few years has been something that as a scientist and as a drug developer has been puzzling and would love to do something about it. And so when I see a big challenge like food allergy, I think that to solve big challenges, you need a couple of things. One of them is, great minds to come to the table and look at the problem in a different way that others have been doing. And when I met Ruslan, our scientific founder, and the rest of the FASI investigators, I was thrilled. I thought that this is a group that is coming from different backgrounds, looking at the problem in a very different context. And this group really has the opportunity to transform the field. That was number one. The second thing that I was really inspired is, and I think that it's necessary to transform or to tackle a big problem, is persistence and commitment. And when I met you, Chris, and the rest of the founders, I have to be honest, I've rarely met people that are so committed, that are willing to do whatever it takes, not being satisfied by simple answers and cutting corners, but just really being there for long run and having a complete commitment to solve the issue. So coming from my background and what I've done, I felt like I really want to be part of this. I think not only for the personal questions that I have, but for the society, I think this is just a unique team approaching the problem in a different way. And then with my experience that I've been developing over the last years, I thought I could contribute, especially with hopefully trying to build an organization that goes not only from understanding, but that can translate into therapeutic interventions to impact people. There's so many people living with food allergies in the world.
Thank you, Carlos. So we're so lucky to have you leading this organization. We're so lucky that we have the scientists that we have that have gotten involved. And we all want to move the science forward, and that's why we're all here. Can you discuss the limitations of food allergy therapies and intervention and why it's important to generate new therapies?
Absolutely. I have a few slides that may help our audience see this in a better way. So
Great.
let me just do this. Um, So coming from other indications into food allergies, I when I saw these numbers, I was actually blown away. There's a huge disparity in the United States of approved drugs for food allergies in comparison to the prevalence and how many people have food allergies. It's about 32 million people in the United States and over 200 million in around the world and and having only two drugs approved in 2024 by 2024 it's just amazing. And and actually the last drug was just approved just a few months ago, as our audience heard from Delametsu. um, so to me this was really impactful. I thought that more could be done. And before FASI started, right, I felt that first, the funding for food allergy research and the science for food allergy research was really behind. I think that may be one of the components, one of the reasons. I don't think it's the only reason. There's many other challenges that I'll talk more about, but that is probably a reflection of how many drugs have been approved, how many therapies have been approved over the last decade for food allergies. Um, as I said, two drugs approved. So the first one was Palforzia, which is a peanut powder that is provided as a therapy called oral immunotherapy, where small increasing doses are given to patients to desensitize them against the allergen. Really exciting. I think actually Palforzia was huge because it provided not only the first therapy approved for food allergy, but also it showed the rest of the world what it's needed to be able to run a successful clinical trial to approve a drug in food allergy. So very exciting, but there's still a lot of limitations with this drug. And now, as our audience heard from our scientific advisory board member Del Umetsu, who has spent so many years, so many decades working on the development of Xolair. Xolair was just approved about a month ago, which is super exciting because it provides now another first biologic approved for food allergies, and it's especially useful as people have less control over their diet. So very exciting, but unfortunately, Xolair is not a cure. And I'm really one of the reasons I'm excited to be a FASI is because that's the focus of really trying to find disease-modifying therapies that are cure. So a lot of limitations in comparison to everything else out there, baby steps, but more it's needed.
Thank you, Carlos. As you were talking, I was thinking to myself that, a major goal of ours in the early days of developing FASI was to start driving funds into food allergies, because once funds are in there, more scientists will move into it. And that's actually what we've seen happening. So, as you know, FASI's been focused on trying to understand food allergies at their core since its inception. So, if you don't mind, can you spend a minute or two talking about what Fozzy's doing now to get closer to therapies and why? So, we started with understanding food allergies in the beginning, and now we're thinking about getting closer to therapies. Can you talk about why that is?
Yes, absolutely, Leslie. And I'm very excited about this new phase of FASI for multiple reasons, but especially the opportunity to get into therapeutic discovery and development at FASI is very exciting because it really completes that vision that we had of not only being able to understand the disease, but really getting into all the way from understanding to intervention, and what I call really offering an end-to-end research organization, and that's what FASI is becoming. So I'm very excited about that. Maybe just I'll use a few slides just to share more about this.
I'm
uh,
very excited about that too, Carlos, just so you know.
Thank you. So, we as our audience have heard over the last seminar series or last year, we've built an amazing team, 21 unique investigators coming from all different areas of immunology, gastroenterology, microbiology, neuroscience, coming together to tackle this challenge. And it has been extremely productive, right? So over 100, actually over 101 publications as of yesterday. Uh, Great team, also team that is involved in clinical trials for food allergies under the guidance of Ruslan, who's to me is just really, I admire him as an amazing scientist. So we've been making great progress on that. That's what I call understand. So that's what I call our first pillar, so of understanding. And so as we move forward, just building the other two pillars, it's unique. It's really critical in my mind in the vision that we set out to do in order to have that end-to-end research organization. Second pillar, it's really translational research, and how do we translate not only from understanding in animals and in the lab, but actually in humans. And our audience heard about the efforts and the webinar that Dr. Ramnik Xavier just presented a month ago, where he talked about the very exciting studies that are ongoing in understanding the cell repertoire of people with food allergies, and specifically in the gut. Um, this to me is very exciting, not only because we're in humans, but in disease relevant tissues. So the immunologists in the room may know that a mast cell is not a mast cell. The mast cell depends its profile and how it behaves. It depends where it's located in the body. And so really understanding and looking at disease in disease relevant tissues is really important. So that second pillar of translational research and understanding in humans, it's so critical, not only for discovering new markers, new targets, but also for validating some of the research that we're doing in animals, validating some of the therapeutic concepts. So that is a second pillar, and I'm very excited about it. So with those two pillars and the progress we're making, we can see a very clear and cohesive and tangible transition from understanding, translating, and intervention as we build the drug discovery accelerator. And that's how, in my mind, you really get one step closer to a cure. It's not only understanding, but really it takes a lot to go from an idea to developing a therapy. And so actually to that point, maybe I just want to take a pause and reflect on this. I know we have a mixed audience in here. So just to clarify, I know we talk a lot about ideas and new findings, but to develop a drug, I sometimes associate it with, rocket engineering, right? It really takes a long time, a very robust discipline, a lot of money, and really perseverance to go through this. In average, it takes about 13 years to develop a drug from the conception to all the way to the market. And so going through all these phases and doing them in the right way with a lot of discipline, it's necessary. You need to go from the idea to validating a target, to generating compounds, to optimizing the compounds, doing preclinical studies, and then taking them all the way through the clinic into the approval. So this is not an easy thing to do. And that's why when we talk about science and ideas, there needs to be the complementary, robust process to generate therapies. Just to clarify, our drug discovery accelerator, which we are officially launching in this year, but we already start making good progress on it. It's focused on that, on what I think we can do best, what FASI can do best. FASI won't be involved into taking drugs into the market, but will focus on taking those breakthrough discoveries, generating, identifying the targets, validating those targets, generating the compounds, and creating compounds that really look like drugs. And this is what we call early drug candidates. So getting them all the way through proof of concepts and confirming that this entity, this molecular entity, looks and behave and have all the characteristics that are necessary to serve as a drug in food allergies. And at that point, we already building relationship with industry partners that then will take them forward because they have the base capabilities. And what we want at the end of the day is to generate new options for patients and for people living with food allergies. So to do this, there are multiple things that need to happen. And the first thing that you need to do is to build a team. We've actually been very, very excited about having the opportunity to bring in excellent drug discoverers and developers from the industry. So CJ Beneducci, a senior scientist at FASI, we're able to steal him from Johnson & Johnson, enormous amount of experience in drug discovery, in autoimmune diseases, in immunology and fibrosis, and have really experienced all the way from target discovery to generating therapeutics. And Nikolai, senior scientists that have great experience working in the neuroimmune axis, previously at Calliope, working with small molecules, developing small molecules for therapies for tackling the neuroimmune axis, the gut-brain axis. And so this group has, experience over 70 publications and patents. So great team as a starting point for a drug discovery accelerator. So this team is now active. I'm super excited to share today for the first time. I'm a big believer that in order to do something difficult, you need to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, and not only smart, but that are highly committed. And so we've been able to assemble this incredible team of experienced drug developers from the industry. So Del Umetsu, most of you heard his seminar recently, have spent over 20 years developing Xolair from Stanford to Harvard to Genentech. Keiki Shimono was a former CSO of Selecta Biosciences, one of the only companies that I feel have done an incredible job in developing tolerance strategies for different indications. Lita Trivinos, who's a senior partner at Flagship, one of the best people that I've met and working with intellectual property. Eric Parker, over 30 years of experience at Merck and Schering-Plough and Calliope in neuroscience. Yong Kwon, CEO of Alchemab and previous CFO of Momenta Pharmaceuticals, great experience in business development. And Umesh Mukal, who has spent over 21 years generating novel therapeutic structures at Cencor and IGM Biosciences. So I think we've been surrounding ourselves with a great team, not only with our scientific advisory board, our board team, but also great people that have done this before, know how to do it, and then can help us make sure that we go through a robust process to generate the therapies that we know are needed. Just to clarify to people in the audience here today, sometimes we think you get an idea, you discover a gene, you have a drug, years later, there's a lot that needs to happen, especially when you're tackling an indication like food allergies, where you're treating patients that are otherwise healthy and pediatric patients, so many children's. The process needs to be very robust when you select a target to go after. Not only you need to have good animal data, you need to understand how that target is expressed across different tissues and different cells in the human body, especially when you transition from mouse to humans and other species that you use in your development, because safety is utmost important when you're working on this. And then you need to understand what has been done before. Are there mutations in the target that would be important as you develop the drug? And are there some indications already, some compounds that have been used to modulate that? So this team has now been involved in a very robust process to go through all of these aspects of target validation, target identification and validation, to confirm that if we're going to develop a drug, it needs to take into account all those aspects. So I'm just going to give a brief flavor of some of the things that the team has been doing so far. Early work, and I know in the interest of time, I'm not going to have a chance to go into all the biology, all the science. We'll leave that for another day, and the drug discovery team would be in a better position to go into those details. But you know, we haven't really launched the Discovery Accelerator, but we're already making great progress. We've already gone through about 50 targets and pathways, done a robust diligence, looking how these ideas and these targets are, what is the evidence in human food allergic information data that exists, mouse data, expression, safety profile, competitive landscape. Can we learn something from what's out there? We have taken that all the way from 50 to about 9 that we have prioritized, and we're doing further diligence at the moment. And the goal is to get at least one target or therapeutic concepts that we will move into drug discovery phase in 2024. This is not to say that as we go through this, if we find something that doesn't come out directly from FASI, we won't do anything about it. We may partner, and we may, at the end of the day, we're here to generate transformative therapies for patients with food allergies. So, and we'll do it in any way we can, but just having this information going through a robust process that we have built, it really allows us to do this in a very disciplined way. So to summarize, Leslie, I'm just very excited that now for the first time, that vision that we have of generating an end-to-end research organization, it has become a reality. We can go from understanding to intervention, and really we have the opportunity to do it not only as just minor improvement to standard of care, but we have the opportunity to do something where we create disease modifying therapies where are transformative, which is what we need. So I will stop there. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, it did answer my question. It's really exciting to hear about the imminent launch of the Drug Discovery Accelerator. You've talked about the amazing scientists at the core of FASI, the importance of translation, and how we move towards intervention with drug discovery, and then finished it off by talking about the lengthy and complex drug development process. But it looks like you have a great team of advisors. You also have a fabulous team inside FASI. And so it seems that FASI is clearly positioned to be successful in this area. I'm excited about the movement of science in our pipeline as someone whose family has been pretty impacted by food allergies. So I'm going to ask you one last question, but while I'm doing that and while you're answering, if anyone has any questions, please put them in the chat now so that I can bring them up to Carlos as soon as he's done. But I guess what's next? What's next for FASI? What's next for where do we go from here?
Great question. So first, we've been doing great in uncovering a lot of questions in food allergies, all the way from understanding what are the environmental factors and the factors in diet that are sensitizing people to be more prone to food allergies. So that's an area of investigation that we're going to continue, and we're going to do a lot more. The neuroimmune axis that we've been exploring, I'm super excited. There's so much more to be done, and our researchers are just getting started. So that it's going to continue. What I'm excited about in translational research and drug discovery is now with this team that we have built of experts and internal team, FASI is now really accelerating this process of taking those ideas, going to a robust process and generating therapies. What's next is really we're going to prioritize a few targets that we have already been looking after. Some of them will require further validation, which as now we have the capabilities of doing these studies in human, we will actually validate them and move them forward. There may be a few things that we're considering that may already be ready for drug discovery. And we're not doing this in a silo. We're actually communicating with the industry partners, people in the for-profit world to say, hey, if we do this, can we partner? Can we move this? At the end of the day, we need to do this as fast and as robust as possible. So I can now see the combination of FASI itself with the industry, with people out there that are excited to move things forward to generating disease-modifying therapies for people that are needed so much. I think we can do a lot more than an EpiPen and avoidance, and I think I can now start to see that this is tangible.
Yeah, I love that, and I am so happy to be on board with you in this journey. We're often involved. We're all often asked how to get involved with FASI, and there are many ways to get involved and help make a difference. The number one way is to make a donation. This is all philanthropic funding that we're working with here. And so it's really important that if you're excited about this and you feel it's important that you make a donation, we also take donations from industry as well. You can also host an event. You can follow us on social media, and you can stay connected and join us for our webinars. I will jump over to the questions in just a second, but wanted to thank everyone for coming today. Also, this is a journey, and we are glad you're along with us for it. And then join us in the fall for a new seminar series, and we do hope you enjoy your summer. Okay, so here's a question from the audience. I am puzzled. Are you going for a preventive strategy to eradicate food allergy or for a cure of food allergy, meaning the transformation when already allergic to some food? I always thought once allergic, always allergic.
That is,
Hello?
yeah, no, great question. And it's a big debate. We spend a lot of time when you do drug discovery and development, as opposite to what a lot of people may think, that you just have a great idea and you move it forward. You actually, I'm a big believer that you need to spend a lot of time thinking about what we call target product profiles. What does the drug need to look like? Which is a population that needs to serve? What is the unmet need? How is what are other people doing so that when you develop something in 10 years, people are really going to use it because you can do a lot of work and then in 10 years, nothing would happen. So that question we've been debating a lot. We believe that intervention, once someone has food allergy, is something that we need to tackle first, right? It's a more viable way. I think in the future it'll be good for preventative treatments. And there's a component of our research, that's why we have 3 pillars. There's a component of our early research that it's looking about what is the cause of food allergy? How people are getting sensitized in the first place? What's in our diet and our environment that is causing this sensitization? So I'm hopeful that research will lead to preventative strategies, but to start with, based on our target product profiles and our analysis, I think we need to tackle first people that are already allergic.
And I know we're at time, but there's one last question that I'm going to throw out to you. And for anyone that wants to stay, feel free. Can you comment on your clinical network? How do you envision FASI working with industry partners on the clinical side?
Great question. Well, we are blessed to have already an amazing network of clinicians working with FASI that are really facilitating and are really actually at the forefront of some of the research. Some of you, for example, may know Wayne Treffler, who was involved in the clinical trials for the approval of Xolair, and many other of our investigators that are doing amazing work in the clinic. It takes a village to do this. So we're not only limited to the people we're working with. We need to establish collaborations. We know that it's going to be important to do this as a group. And so we are now really reaching out and working with other investigators. Anyone who's clinician and wants to work with us, please let us know. And also, we're really have good networks in the industry to be able to do this. It's gonna take a big group. So that's how we're approaching this.
Great. Thank you. And I'll just tell everyone to spread the word to their friends and colleagues as well. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We will see you in the fall. Stay tuned.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thanks, Carlos.